And even though the mic is here, go ahead and speak out as though it were not here.
Hi, my name is Dominic Bianco. I'm a Mental Winter Fellow here. I began earlier this month. I'm a first-year undergrad student studying with Professor Lava. Today I play the offertory hymn. I'm really grateful to be here. There's such a supportive community here, and I feel very comfortable. So thank you for having me.
I'm going to take the mic off so you can actually hear it. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Bjorken. I am in one of the choral scholars. I sing soprano in the choir. I am a second-year undergraduate vocal performance major at Eastman. I hail from Ithaca, New York, which is about 2 hours south of here. And I'm so grateful to be here. I'm currently also studying choral conducting at Eastman, so getting to watch Stephen every weekend is extremely educational, and he's just such a great director, and I learned so much from him. So, to lead a church choir would really be the dream. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ari Potlery. I am one of the choral scholars here, and I sing alto in the choir. I am a second-year undergrad voice student at Eastman, and I've grown up singing in the church my whole life, so this is a great experience for me, and I'm really happy to be here. Thanks.
Hello all, my name is Caleb Meyerhoff. I'm also one of the choral scholars here. I sing tenor. And over at Eastman, I'm a second-year undergrad. I study music education and voice as my instrument. And yeah, I am just really happy to be a part of something greater and to serve you, but in turn, this community serves my musicianship, and it's great to be a part of this faith community. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Hello, my name is Michael Cullinan. I'm from Avon, New York, half an hour south. I'm one of the choral scholars here. I'm a tenor, and I'm at Eastman for vocal performance. And my dad is here in the back, Mark Cullinan.
Thank you, Mark, for Michael. That's kind of it, and then we have, other people that are on the side. So we have like our associate organist, Professor David Higgs, member of the parish as well, and Professor William Porter, member of the parish. So as I tell people, we're lousy with organists. It's a nice thing.
I don't know what the maestro was talking about. All right, young people, you all feed yourselves and feel free to go and do what you do that enables you to give us your music ministry. It's good to see your faces. Also, a couple of these people come to parish talent shows and they play mean piano and sing mean jazz and all kinds of the talented people. And also hats off to them because as you all will hear, it's no big surprise, but there are not a whole lot of job openings for church musicians right now as Protestant churches are sort of, going like this. So we have to support these people as they support us in our liturgy. And it is such a treasure to have you all in our midst. You are something we do right. Thank you. Here is something else we do right, someone else who does right by us. And as a preface to Lois's report, I want us to consider, I'll say more about this in my rector's report, but we have rarely been able to galvanize around a mission, an outreach that makes us a distinct parish. They're the climate parish. They're the parish that works with the incarcerated, the school. we can rarely galvanize around one thing, but we have this one outreach that has been happening before many of us even got here, and some of us have been here all along with it because we kind of started it. But please listen to what Lois shares with you and who she shares with us.
Morning. I'm Lois Jones. I've been here a very long time, and my husband was part of the vestry when Amelia Moore started. I hate that I read stuff because then I tend to want to read it. But first, I really want to introduce you to our new staff. Amelia Moore is going to be in its, are you ready? 45th 45 years. And one of the things that we're proud of is that we never close. We close when the buses are not running. And this is very important to our clients, to our guests, because they count on us. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But because we're making dinner, I'd like to introduce to you our staff. We've had a turnover in staff as of Thanksgiving. No bad feelings. Understood that Cordero has a restaurant now. Chef has a restaurant and his food truck. Just couldn't keep two kitchens going. So very understandable. William has retired. He's having hip or knee operation or maybe both. He's been with us over 8 years. And our dishwashers have kind of come and gone, but we have a great one right now. So let me start with our chef. Out here, Shelley. Shelley Allison is here with us. She is a Rochester native, correct? And she went to City School District. She knows Ralph Spezio. Maybe she went to, are you 17? Yes. Okay, she went to 17. She also worked in a lot of restaurants in Rochester, including the Inn on Broadway, which is next door. And she comes to us from Pittsburgh, and we're thrilled to have her. She grew up in the church. Well, maybe I'll let you tell.
Oh, I'm Shelley Allison. She is correct. My mother was a pastor as well at St. Paul Believing Holiness Church on Common Street. Still exists today, different pastor. I'm just happy to be here. I have a passion for helping people, and if Amelia Moore, if they could be here full, I'm happy. With a meal on their stomach and something warm to keep them warm when they leave, when they come, and to keep them coming back. I make sure I make a physical meal every week, and the service is going well. Between Lois and Chris, everything is well organized here. I couldn't ask for a better job. I really don't have any complaints. Like I said, Lois keeps everything under control, and the meal service is something I've been introduced to that I never knew about before I worked here. So I've also extended that to people that I know to come to Amelia Moore and have a meal, and it's been going really well.
Well, welcome. We're so glad
Thank you.
Oh, you can go. And our dishwasher, our new dishwasher, has an interesting real job. Edgar Daniels. He also supports a lot of the happenings at Christ Church. When you have events, Ben does your dishes.
Edgar. I'll probably be. I make me. I'll be leaving. Opportunity.
And our newest staff member is Fred Ethan. And Fred is taking over the doorkeeper job. And what, have you been here all 10 weeks? Something like that. Taking over for William, getting to know people, getting to know you. He's had some experience in schooling, and Sharon?
I think I just walk in faith, try to stay out of prison.
Welcome. Okay, so I'm kind of skipping around here. Anyway, as I told you, this is going to be our 45th year. This program was conceived by Debbie Talley, Reverend John Docker, David Hunt, our rector, Bud Thurston, and his wife, Chris, many years ago, obviously. And a lot of other people who may be in this room were part of that, too. First, it started out with us, with the parish actually doing the cooking and the serving. But we soon learned that we didn't have the resources to do that kind of thing. So our wardens went to the bishop and asked Bishop Spears how we could do this project and do this mission, but that we really needed help. So what happened was that 6 Episcopal churches in the city joined us, both by giving us funds and volunteers. And there are 3 of them that are still very active: Shepherd and Webster, St. Thomas, and Christ Church Pittsford. The other 3 still give us financial help, or they have unfortunately closed. But we're going strong. Where's Jeremy? Jeremy really helped us out with a wonderful grant, and we appreciate that greatly. We served 10,970 meals this past year. We've switched a lot. We used to do all in house dining, but because of the pandemic, we realized that we didn't want to close. So the board was considering doing all bag lunches, and Cordero, our chef, previous chef, looked at us and said, "We can do better than that." And he continued to make hot meals to go, and that's what we did all through the pandemic. And then what we found out is that there were a lot of people who really wanted to continue that. We have people who use the service for, because they may have an apartment or a room, so they can take their meal there and do that, or they have an apartment or a room, but which was astonishing to me, no cooking facilities. I had a man ask me one time if I had a microwave that I could give to him, and I said, happened to find one, but he had an apartment, but he had no electricity, which was like, but those are the kinds of things that some of our guests deal with. We also have guests that live in shelters or on the street. So we try to make, what we've done is we have in dining, we have take-home meals, we have bag lunches. So we kind of cover the waterfront and do the best that we can. So we're very, very grateful. We have about 85 plus volunteers, very active people, very faithful people. We also have very faithful donors, many of whom are sitting right here. So we appreciate and are grateful for all that you do. And I'd just like to ask, because when I thought about this, I thought, I'm going to be very surprised with this. But if you have been involved in Meal and More, or someone in your family has been involved in Meal and More, would you please stand up? Yay, team. Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, that's what we've been doing. That's what we plan on doing. Our plan is to keep on doing what we've been doing. Thank you. Except for me. I am retiring. Well, I'm going to continue to come a couple of times a month. Many of you know my husband is having some eye issues, and I also have a brother who just lost his wife and has Parkinson's disease. So there are lots of pulls on my time. But I'm going to continue to be here. But we have a new president, Chris Nuccitelli, who's from Good Shepherd, and he's wonderful. So enjoy.
We're also applauding someone, as you just heard, who helped start this ministry at Christ Church. Lois, thank you. Okay, now it's time for the maestro.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, everyone. How many of you sing on Sundays or any other day? All right, have you ever went, oh, what a beautiful day? Have you ever done that? How many have done that? Oh, thank you for wonderful. That's singing. Ah, yes it is. That's singing too. So anyway, feel free to sing. Another thing, remember when we're singing hymns in church, it's not something to be listened. It's not the kind of music that's crafted so that we all listen to it and go, oh. It's not really designed for that. It's participation. And if you can match the pitch, that's fine. And if you can't match the pitch, that's perfectly fine too. That's what hymnody is all about. So if you're singing, oh God, our help in ages past, that's just as beautiful for accomplishing what you're supposed to accomplish just by letting your body make noise with everybody else. So enjoy just singing out. Okay, that's another reason why organs were designed to be so robust, so that you don't really hear the person next to you doing that. So anyway, so that's my sermonette today. In your packet, there's some printouts, and you can follow along. I'll just try to touch on a few things, but I'd like it if you look over the music program report on your own. So, and if you have any questions, please email me or ask me or raise your hand throughout and ask questions. And yeah, so basically I put together just a few basic things that I think would be important for you to know about what we do as a parish with our music program. And I also peppered in, which I like to do, a few quotes from people you may or may not know. Music can change the world because it changes people. Bono. Anyone a fan of Bono? Handout, anyone? So the basic overview of the program, what this is really about is collaboration. What we just heard about with Meal and More is about collaboration. And you can't do anything by yourself, right? You need others to help you, and that makes things grow. If you want things to die, you just do everything yourself. So what we try to do with this program is to collaborate with other organizations to support what we do. So our parish music program changes lives and strengthens community. Through parish collaborations with the Eastman School of Music, the Episcopal Diocese of Rochester, and the Rochester Area Community Foundation, Christ Church has become known as an important center for sacred music performance and education education. Eastman's internationally significant Craighead Saunders organ. Do you know where it is? It's the one up there. Process reconstruction organ. Who else has that? Nobody, right? You have to go to Sweden to find another one of those. And not in this style, though, in a different style. And the historic Hook and Hastings, the American Romantic pipe organ, which is hidden up there. And those instruments draw people from all around the world for concerts, festivals, and our liturgies. We usually always have guests, especially through the summer, because so many people visit. And they look at our website and they see all this stuff and they go, gotta go there. So, check out the website. Thank you, Val. The website has amazing stuff on it, and it's all stuff that you really want to know about. And let's see. Then our organs are also heard at the Tuesday Pipes concert series. So Prue is a fan and is here with kids almost every Tuesday. Some of you as well. Kids in the summer. In the summer, okay, all right. Okay, well, okay, it's a good reason to get the kids out of school to come to the Tuesday Pipes concert. You heard it here first. So Tuesdays at 12:10 are these 20-minute pipe organ concerts given by the school students and faculty and some guest artists that come from town. Jimmy is one. He's playing the next one on Tuesday. Right. So they use both organs, and it's just a wonderful community event. We have a lot of people brought in from some of the communities, the disabled, and so that's a great opportunity for them. They just love coming to this. And we also have, the organs are played in our liturgies every Sunday, special liturgies, and then in our Candlelight Concert series, and that's the series we have before Compline on the first Sunday of the month. First Sunday of the month. Which Sunday? That's the one. Right. And then, so through the collaboration there with Eastman and all of that, as well as through the Rochester Area Community Foundation funded Vandalinder Fellowships, which are funded by Roy E. Vandalinder. Does anyone remember Roy? Oh, great. Okay. So Roy wanted to establish an educational program so that young organ students could have the experience accompanying the congregation in hymn singing and playing anthems and directing the choir and improvising psalm accompaniments and other things and playing anthems. So he wanted to create that. And so that's what we're doing for Roy through the Rochester Area Community Foundation Vandalinder Fellowships program. And we met R3 just a minute ago. And then we also have the Choral Scholar program. You met them, and Eastman Choral Scholar. We have one Eastman Choral Scholar, and we have four Christchurch. Eastman Choral Scholar is donor funded, so the church does not pay for that. And so what we're providing is vocational development for future leaders in church music. Participants in this program for over the years hold prominent positions in churches all around the country. And we talked about the youth ensemble, our Christchurch choir, youth choir, children's choir. And so that newly formed group will be singing more and more for our liturgies, as well as the Christchurch choir that sings at 11 o'clock. And then the Schola Cantorum sings Compline at 9. And that's a group of singers from the community, Eastman School faculty, and Eastman students. No one is paid in that ensemble. It's all volunteer. And everyone loves to participate in it, as well as the instrumentalists, our sackbut players. That's the Renaissance trombone. It's the only place in Rochester where students can have that opportunity to play the Renaissance trombone and learn how to play it, as well as the cornet team. Eastman does not provide that in any of its education other than through our Christchurch Sola Cantorum. So we're providing a service musically that Eastman doesn't even provide. And so students that are interested can also enroll in the Sola Cantorum to get credit through Eastman for it. So it's a win-win for everybody. None of my friends and colleagues around the country know of any other program of a church music ensemble that has become a course at a major music school. So it's unbelievable. So it happened here. Where words fail, music speaks. Sometimes that's true. Hopefully all the time. Hans Christian Andersen. We do this all together with the help of volunteers. So Compton helped us. Could we stand, Prue and Vicky, and then John, anybody who does setup for Compton after the service, or Fred, yes, there we go. All of you guys, thank you so much. You make this possible for us to have Compline on Sunday nights with nearly a full church. So thank you. If you didn't help, we couldn't do it. Many years ago when I started, I tried to do everything myself, and then we had Christopher Huebner, who has passed away. Some of you remember Christopher. He did tons of things here and really helped make it all happen. But now thank you to all of you who are doing this. We're deeply grateful to all who volunteer their time and skill in our parish ensembles as well, and those who usher at Compline and light candles for Compline, and those that host the reception. Prue and Vicky, thank you guys. It's an amazing happening, so that after Compline's first Sundays of the month, we have the Candlelight Concert Series, we have a whole room filled with people from the community who get to know each other and meet and mingle at this wonderful reception with great cookies that are all no calorie. And some of those people have actually joined Christchurch because of all of that. So that's fantastic. Then let's see. Music is the language of the Spirit. It opens the secret life between peace and abolishing strife. Nice thought. Our distinctive music program is fundamental to our parish life. It's what we do together. It's outreach to the greater community, and it helps grow our parish. It embraces our ancient traditions and present-day modes of musical expression. We improvise, we make fresh music in the moment on almost every Sunday. What church does that? We perform parts of the liturgy, educate future leaders in sacred music, and provide a healing balm for the mind and spirit. Music is the universal language of mankind. Longfellow. Our liturgies are buildings acoustics, our musical heritage, partnership and proximity to the world's finest music schools, and the organs that Eastman has put in. And all of these things coalesce to form this remarkable program. It takes the village. We have set a unique tone for musical outreach in our parish community. It's one that doesn't fit the mold for what most people think of as outreach. But it is. We cannot be all things to all people, but we can offer people things that cannot be found anywhere else in this community. I think that's really key. If we try to do what other churches do, then we're competing directly with them. And it's hard to compete with a lot of other churches in town that have tons of money piled up after years and years and years of huge congregations. It's like a recipe for disaster for us. But if we do things that other churches don't do, maybe like chanting the gospel, I know, Ruth brought it up, but anyway, I like it. We could even have, the lessons could be chanted, and I'd be happy to teach anyone to chant the lessons. Anyway.
The lectors could chant the readings.
Yeah, could be. That's what we do at Compline. but not to force anything on you, but as doing things differently or in different ways or more creative ways is what helps bring people to this place. Then, music expresses feelings and thought without language, unless you're singing text to it, right? It was below and before speech, and it is above and beyond all words. Ingersoll. And then there's a little bit of information here about the Kirsch Music Program financial support, where we get some money. And so it's from different organizations as well as our budget here at the church. And so the Rochester Area Community Foundation, that's what supports and funds entirely the Van der Linder program. It's not the parish. We don't put any money into that. And then by the Rochester Area Community Foundation's, a lot of words there, funding, they also give us $1,000 annually just for some overhead expenses like copy machines, that sort of thing, pencils, you know. So our current fellows are, as we met, Andrew, Jimmy, and Dominic, and they tremendously add to. Thank you. And then we have grant income. So I'm always trying to write grants as often as I can. Most of the money has been coming from the Episcopal Diocese, and so that supports our music program. And then we have the private donor-funded Eastman Christ Church Choral Scholar. So that Choral Scholar is paid through Eastman through donors. So we don't pay that either. Then we have our Friends of Music Fund, which anyone can give to. It's very attractive to our visitors who come to the concert series in Compline that are maybe not yet members of Christ Church. So that fund is there for them to give to, and some of you give to it as well, and that helps support what we do. I'm also writing, I wrote a grant for the Rochester Area Community Foundation. I'll be hearing in February if we get that, but fingers crossed. And if any of you know anything about grants, ideas, contacts, let's work together, make it happen. And then the University of Rochester, through Eastman School of Music, that really helps support what we do. These instruments, actually 3 pipe organs, the little one up there also, Scola Cantorum mainly. If we had to have those organs tuned and maintained, it would probably cost us about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. That would really mess up our budget. So the school takes care of all of that. And so they need time in here and a quiet room to do that tuning and stuff. But we really appreciate it. They do it twice a week, at the beginning of the week for the organ department's lessons and practice and all that. And then they come in on Friday, and then they do it for us for our weekend. So they're not just doing it for them, they're doing it for us too, because they want this church to be successful in the program. Because that's smart, right? And then Leonard Bernstein, you've seen the latest film, music, ... can name the unnameable and communicate the unknowable. Volunteer musicians are vital to our program. Membership in the Christ Church Choir is presently about 24 members strong, and we are looking for more to join. More to join. Anyone interested? Talk to me. Okay? Ruth, if you get tired of preaching, always come back and sing in the choir. Oh, she knows how to get me. Okay, and then 5 of these people are the choral scholars, 3 are the Van der Linder fellows, and the rest are our irreplaceable volunteers. Who is a volunteer in the Christ Church Choir? Yeah, look at this. Look at that. Wow. So then in the Schola Cantorum, we have about 53 members, and they're all volunteers. And they have our volunteer ushers, candlelighters, which I told you about before. And when I arrived here in 1994, and I was only about 12, watch it, until recently, Christ Church was able to rely fully on volunteers to form the Christ Church Choir. Remember that? Some of you are still here, right? And however, we have now caught up with the national trend and find that we must hire musicians to have a Christ Church choir on Sunday mornings. And this has forced a change in that our Christ Church choir season has become tied to the fall-spring term. So it hinders us a bit for that, but that's where we are. If we get more volunteers, then we could bridge that further. This may change in the coming years, but this is the reality of our time and for the foreseeable future. Maintaining a strong and vital program and ensembles is essential to the parish newcomers and who will in turn contribute more resources participating in our community. We hope it creates a wonderful wheel that never stops. I haven't understood a bar of music in my life, but I have felt it. Isn't that an amazing statement? Stravinsky. And I think for all musicians, if you really care about what you do, it's not really about understanding the music. It's about feeling it so that other people can feel it. Of course, the more you understand it, it's easier to make people feel it, and as well as yourself. But anyway, feeling it is good. And Compline is one of the Rochester's most highly attended liturgies, and certainly the place to be on Sunday nights. This large and faithful congregation consists of people from outside the parish mainly. However, there are always newcomers present each Sunday night. The plate offering for Compline comes to about between $3,500 and $4,000 annually, and is given to the parish's general operating fund. Many of Christ Church's new members had their first experience of Christ Church. More parish support is needed at Compline in ushering, please think about it, lighting candles, please think about it, and helping with building security. That's something we all have to face, the reality of that. And then on the rest of this is really like opportunities for you to help us participate, like being an usher or a reader at Tuesday Pipes. It's wonderful at Tuesday Pipes to have someone with the face of the parish. Someone here, David Hunt did it for years, and it was wonderful. And he talked with people about programs, answered questions about the church and the art and the organs, the decoration, and what our liturgies are about, and everything. And then Alan Jones did that also for years. So if anyone wants to help out with that, it's a wonderful collaborative experience. And then, so you can look at the rest of those things that are opportunities. And then our parish ensembles are explained here a little bit if you want to know more about them. And then the highlights, like concert series, Tuesday Pipes, and Wednesday music stuff. So that's really it. And anyway, thank you all for being a part of what we do.
And it is good not to compete with churches, but they couldn't compete with us. Like, who can compete with the force of the personality of Stephen Kennedy and what he does here? Like, nobody can compete with that. So, but I'm also being genuine. Stephen, who you are is part of what has happened here, not just your gift as a musician, but who you are, who he is. So we have an agenda that's kind of all over the place with cut and pasting situation. Why don't we have Deb come up and tell us about election of vestry members and diocesan convention, or do we want to just, yeah, let's do that. I think you're so good in that role. You have it in your head? You have it in your head.
So we have a tradition at Christ Church of stopping seeking nominations when we have reached the number of slots that we have. There's always room for people on the vestry. Every year, 3 people step off and 3 come on. So why fight about who has to be on it this year? So we have several people who are rerunning for a term, and Craig Smith is our brand new person who has never been on. Craig, stand up for a minute. Thank you. And then the other nominees, can you just stand for a minute if you're here, who are returning? Norma's returning. Sorry, I said I had it in my head, but I don't. Val is returning. And Shirley is returning. No? No? You are not returning. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Probably right on here. Nancy is returning. Thank you, returners. But I was mixing those are vestry members, but Val and Jim are both returning as wardens, and I'm truly grateful for that. Thank you. So we also are electing delegates to the convention, diocesan convention, but there will be a separate thing that they do this year to help elect the bishop. And Dave and Val Jutsam are 2 of our delegates, and Christy, our 3rd delegate. So thank you for what you're going to do this year. A great service, and those candidates are amazing, just want to say. All right, so what we do is I'm going to make a motion that the parish cast a single vote, that the clerk cast on our behalf a single vote for the entire slate as it is laid out. Do I have a second for that? Is there any objection? Then, Sir Clerk, please cast a vote for the nominees for vestry, warden, and diocesan delegates. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That is our beloved leadership. All right, where should we go from here? I think we should go to Christ Church property with actually Nancy giving the report, and then from there we'll go to finance.
So the property report is actually on the back of, so it's the last page. How many of you knew that we, better? How many of you knew that we had a flood in March? Well, we did. It was from the 4th floor, and it did an incredible amount of damage. It came all the way down and went in. So a lot of properties' job lately has been dealing, and we just about wrapped that up, replacing carpet, replacing light fixtures, getting the electricity up to grade. So these are all the things that you don't see and you don't really see, but it's not a bad thing to think about them. The other thing I want to mention on this list that on property committee, I just want to mention Steve Aiea, our sexton, is also on property committee, and this building would fall apart without him. So I would really love to have a round of applause for Steve. So he's the one that keeps it all going. Basically, there's just been a lot of regular problems, plumbing and ducts and things happen in your house, but we're blessed with this beautiful, old, incredible building that takes a lot of money and a lot of time. The thing that we'll be dealing with this year that we're really looking forward to, you might have noticed that there are a lot of water stains right in the narthex right now. Has a fail of the narthex roof. It all needs to be pointed. There'll be a mason and did the quick repairs to where it would stop pouring water in every time it rained. But that will all take place in May. And so lift and scaffolding, big job. But we have great people to do it. There'll be Jennifer Ahrens, who's our building is on the National Register. everything has to be done in certain ways. The other really great thing, Deb Vanderbilt and the Grants Committee, we're successful in writing 2 New York State grants for security, and one will replace or repair our doors, and they're all focused on security. We'll be able to upgrade our alarm system, we'll be able to install exterior lighting outside, so you won't start scary. So this is all really great news, and there's a lot of work to come. So that's a lot of what property will be working to get all of that put in place. I also want to appeal to because our door at the parking lot could not wait for New York State to get their contracts in place. John just successfully replaced the temporary door, which was becoming a real problem in terms of people breaking into it, sleeping in there, and all sorts of things. So thank you, John, for that. Besides the really large aspects of things, we've already had it approved. We're going to be replacing the carpet in the guild room, which I know brings joy to Elizabeth Dugdale's heart, because, in fact, we, I think, have lost weddings because people don't want to have that as the bride's room. So that carpet, which is needed to be replaced for long, will be replaced. We've gotten bids on replacing the floor in Wilder Hall, which is getting pretty dangerous. We're looking for, gotten bids, and now we're looking for that. We did get the beautiful nativity crush that over there every year is almost 100 years old. It was made by the same person who made our beautiful beam and our Marian altar, and it is going to the conservator for much needed refresh. That's one thing, and we just requested a bid finally for the 2 Henry Sharp windows in the chapel on the sidewall here that have been really having a hard time. They're great risk right now. So if any of these projects appeal to you, we'll be using a combination of seeking grant monies, private foundation monies, private individual donations. We have a true love for Henry Sharp windows, and I would be happy to talk to you. And other than that, I think my personal goal is that by the time I need Christ Church to be fully accessible, it will be. And so I know it's all about me. So I am absolutely determined to at least find out what the possibilities are for making this true to everyone. And I figure if St. Michael's and Geneseo, which is just as old as we are, can put in a lift, we can do it. So, a little competition. So, and that's it. So see either me or Kyle or Steve or John if you have any questions about property, or if you would like to know anything about the building that you don't.
Norm, Meg, both of you, one of you? Starts with Norm. Do you want to be back there? I'm going to in the rector's. Well, I can do the rector's report now. Okay, I'm going to do the rector's report now. So I had something that I wanted to read to you from. So this is from the Executive Council of the Episcopal Church, which is its main governing body in between annual conventions. It's sort of like executive team, vestry type team of the National Episcopal Church. And this comes from their last meeting late summer. I'm just going to blip through some of this, but listen to some of these themes. You'll hear them. We're going to talk about how we experience them here at Christ Church. So there are, let's see, Okay, top line numbers continue to show a church experiencing gradual long-term membership decline. Much like other mainline Protestant denominations, the Episcopal Church's tally of baptized members dropped just below 1.6 million in 2022, down from 21% in 2013. The church recorded an even sharper drop in average Sunday attendance in the past decade, down 43% in 2022, though that one-year total was up by 19% from the pandemic-driven low of 313,000 in 2021. Despite the decline in membership and attendance, church-wide plate and pledge income was effectively unchanged from 2018 to 2022. Identified 4 major themes and churches' responses. These are based on parochial reports that we all have. They're nightmares, actually, that you have to fill out, but then you get this information. 4 major themes and responses from churches post-pandemic: returning to in-person worship, supporting spiritual growth across generations, welcoming newcomers into the faith community, and planning for long-term sustainability. Many churches are experiencing increasing costs associated with older building maintenance and utility use, while also experiencing a decrease in available finances from income and pledges. Some parishes have had to dip into endowment funds, what are those, to keep up with building maintenance, and some have been fortunate to secure grants. Others have had to face the difficult decision of closing the parish because they were no longer financially able to support a congregation. That's inflation affecting costs and pledging. Parishes are faced with difficult decisions about how to plan for their futures. And also, there is hope. While there are indeed downward trends or challenges evident in our data, it also shows much cause for hope. We still have tremendous human and material and financial resources. And again, this is talking about Episcopal churches across the whole nation, of which we are one of those. People are seeking what our congregations offer. We have communities whose primary characteristics are hospitality and love, who seek to offer a place that helps people make meaning in their lives. And for all these reasons, we can be hopeful about our future. Well, we've always been a poor church. That's not new news. We're doing many things. The vestry, we talk about money a lot. We talk about money recently without as much anxiety because we have some of it now. Paul Casterline, raise your hand if you remember Paul Casterline. He, like so many of you, was a pillar of this community, and who had any idea how much money he had saved or would give to Christ Church as a bequest? You might remember him best, as many of us do, standing here at the end of an 11 o'clock service, not because he was late, but because he had gone in to serve meal and more, and he'd come out here in his white apron to catch up with us and to see how things went, or to ask me a liturgical question, honestly. And Paul Casterline, between the sale of a house that he had and what he had saved and set aside intentionally for Christ Church, we got $1 million kind of from Paul Casterline. I'm standing here, you know who I am by now. I'm not telling you to give us $1 million. I'm not telling you to give us all that you have. You can't know the trends of the Episcopal Church, whether it's now we have to pay people to sing in choirs because across the board there aren't many people going to church anymore, so you hire people to sing in choirs. So you can't expect everybody to step up a pledge where people are dying or leaving a parish. But what I will say to you is to consider what it means to leave a bequest, and know this. We'll explain it in detail further. You can't hear an invitation to pledge money, to leave money in your will to go to Christ Church or any church without wondering, well, what if that church becomes a skating park, which some churches do? Or what if that church becomes a bar? We're not. We don't know what the future of the church is. I used to be really scared about that. Sometimes I still am. We don't know. So nobody is going to say that if you had $1 million and you left it to Christ Church in 10 years, who knows what that money would do? It would probably help the next part of the roof that sinks. But what I'm saying to you is there is a way to leave a gift, to leave money, and legally, and we'll work this out, I'm not going to explain it, don't ask me questions now, I'll hide if you do, but you can leave money to an institution and with a notation that if that institution becomes another thing, that money that you leave goes to the other thing. It goes to Rochester area, that, yes. So just take a moment to think about Paul Casterline. If you don't know who he is, consider that there was someone who gave out of a place, not just of wealth, but because he knew what this community was for him. He gave of himself to this community. He served at Meal and More. He was here on so many Sundays. He really gave of his life. And if it weren't for his gift, we would be having such a different conversation today. I remember 2 annual meetings ago, that was the first annual meeting after the lockdown. I remember thinking the writing is on the wall. It's time for me to find another parish position, because the way finance is, how are y'all going to afford a full-time priest? Well, y'all stepped up some. We did get Mary Lyle's bequest as well, and then Paul's came, and Stephen and I and Steve Aya, we got 4% raises. The vestry did that for us. Thank you, we got raises because of that and because of Paul. So a lot of what you're pledging to mostly is really me and him and Steve Aya. And so it matters to us to know that we're leading this church in a way that is not just fitting with following the way of Jesus as best we can, but that we have your input, not just as volunteers, but your input, your thoughts, your inspiration, your faith. One of the things that I would say to you is it's just simple things that you can do right now. I preface this by saying, I wish that, it's 3 years outside of the pandemic now. 2 years ago, we knew that we were going to see fewer people in the pews, and now we are. We are, and there are times when I'll walk up to one of these young choir people and say, thank you for singing to us, especially on a day when there may be 20 people in the pews. I hope you know that even though you're not singing to this, this filled congregation on a Sunday morning, unlike Compline, I hope you know how much it means to us. And I try to say that to my acolytes as well. Thank you all for coming in and serving. You could have stayed in and had coffee and read the New York Times. Jim comes up all the time to acolyte. Thank you. It feels so much different when there's so many people in the pews. So honestly, I would say, please pledge what you can. Consider a bequest. We'll have programs and conversations around that. There are ways to do a green burial that's environmentally friendly. We're going to have a conversation. You can sign up for this. Consider supporting Meal and More. I'm on the board now. This is a community. It's hard to know which way to go in a community sometimes. I have a history of conflict with Meal and More and with the vestry of Christ Church. You know why? You know what it was about? It was about the fact that we were all working in community. That's what it was about. was about I didn't feel like people should be standing out in this line. They should be let in to be with us during coffee hour. That did not work. But other people who saw how it didn't work put forth what they thought about that, and then somehow the Meal and More board at the time got in a big old fight with some of the vestry members at the time, and I was in the middle, and instead of being a peacemaker, I was kind of fighting on both sides, and this was a long time ago, and why am I even telling you this? I'm telling you this because communities grow and they change, and we go through highs and we go through lows, and I have disappointed you all before. I'll disappoint you again. You've disappointed each other. You may not even know that you've disappointed someone. You've been disappointed by someone. Stay with it. Don't go. Don't go. Community is what's dying. I don't know what's happening with the Episcopal Church. You know, we're not dying. You'll hear in the finance, we're not rich, but we're not dying. We have new people who are coming. I don't know why they're coming. I really don't. I now have 4 kids from Eastman just filled out pew cards for coffee with the rector. They're not going to give us any money, but we're going to go hike at Minden Ponds because they don't have cars and they need to get out in the woods. And I'm going to ask some of y'all to do that with me. Pledge and just show up, because what we know is that it matters. This seems like such a simple thing, but if you're waffling on a Sunday morning, just come, because it feels better when you're here. And 2 years ago, I thought at next year's annual meeting I'll be able, and then last year I thought, no, at next year's annual meeting, after our regathering conversations, I'll be able to tell you what my plan is for growing the church. And if I can't tell you what my plan is for growing the church, I'll be able to tell you, well, here's what we're doing, here's what we've learned. But it doesn't work like that. We haven't really learned anything. Nobody knows. At the standing committee meeting, the bishop had someone who's doing research on why did people quit coming after the pandemic? Because nobody knows. And then that caused conflict, because that's a community. And the conflict was people don't want to talk about that. Oh, the clergy don't want to hear why people aren't coming because everything's about us. So we don't want to, it's about Stephen Kennedy, whatever problems there are on him. But honestly, we don't know. All I can tell you is whatever transition this is, I know for sure that it helps if you show up, and it helps if you commit yourself to what we have in front of us. I know because I've tried, some of you have tried to get us involved in certain ministries that have to do with war, with climate change, with inner city involvement, and that kind of goes like this. But we do have Meal and More. And you just heard from people who are not in prison right now, who are, so, I mean, why is that not a prison ministry? We're not doing anything, and all these people are showing up to Meal and More. Well, Lois is doing a lot. We're not doing anything. Stephen is doing a lot. And all of these people are showing up to Compline. So we're not dying. And I'm going to go hiking with these adorable college kids at Minden Ponds. So this is what I know to do as your rector. Y'all gave me a raise. You may not know that, but you did. And so you should know what I'm trying to do. These are my challenges. This is what I'm trying to do. One is, I think interfaith involvement is really important, because as the guy said who led our clergy retreat, you priests don't know what's going to happen with the Episcopal Church. You don't know. I don't know. It's one of my idols. I have idolatry issues with the Episcopal Church. I'm guessing you do too, but my being an Episcopalian is not the most important thing. I know that. And wrangling over words with 3 Muslims and 4 Jews, now we're down to 2 Jews, and a Roman Catholic, that counts as a kind of a Christian, and me, that counts as a kind of a Christian. And a UU who calls herself Christian adjacent, I don't know what that means, but that conversation is important because we're working on a press statement for peace. Just ceasefire, just stop blowing people up. So I'm trying to do that. That's taken a lot of hours. I'm trying to work with the standing committee. We've mostly done that. Val has worked with the search committee to get us a bishop who'll lead us in these uncertain times. I'm trying to figure out how to preach because you can't really assume that people who come in know what the Feast of the Ascension is or that they care. I'm trying to figure out, should I teach the basic kind of Sunday school level because people have no idea why we're wearing white and talking about the Feast of the Presentation? Or do I just skip over that and talk about light and talk about Simeon and Anna? And I don't know, but I spend time worrying about it. And what we're doing as leadership, well, we're thanking Paul Casterline. We're trying to figure out where and how to invest those monies. We're writing grants. Deb is head of the grants committee. We're working through, because now in our lease agreement with the U of R, we can comb through the lease agreement and see, okay, what works, what's not working. We're talking with U of R to figure out, okay, how can we make this partnership more financially viable for Christ Church, especially because the Father's House, they're not going to be renting and giving us the money that they used to give us. They're renting much smaller space. So these are some of the things that, and I think about that a lot, and I try to manipulate the leadership of the Father's House. Y'all pay me to do that, I guess, because I just want them to stay and keep giving us money. You pay me to build community, and this is, again, why I hope you'll show up, because the best I can tell, what brings people on Sunday morning has to do with being together. And again, I think the thing that's dying in this world is community. Places where people gather and actually stay. And we have an opportunity to do that. So as I close, this is important to me because what's going to happen is increasingly we're not going to have these vestry meetings and then report to you all, this is what we're talking about at the vestry level. We're going to do this. I sort of think of you all as the faithful remnant. So what I would like to do is, I guess vestry, just shout out to me and I'll say it into the mic unless you're brave enough to come up to the mic. But here are some of the things that we actually think about. Some of us incessantly, some of us because we're made to think about them, but all of us because we meet monthly to figure out how to steer this church and keep it sustainable. So what is an issue that, or a question that's come up? Just, you can even think off the spot, or off the whatever I'm trying to say. Who's the vestry person? What's something that's come up? Give everybody a sense of what we talk about. We talk about fellowship. How do we encourage and create and hospitality? Yes. How do we make this a warm, inviting place to people who walk in and have no idea what we're doing or talking about, even though we have a bulletin, because they've never been to a church, but they're looking for something? How do we balance openness and security? This whole door issue, that's a place where people are kept warm. I hate to have to put that door there, but I also ran into somebody who I didn't want to run into who was in that place, and I made it out safe. So we balance openness and security. Our relationship with our neighbors, like Rocco, what's our relationship? How do we keep our neighbors in relationship? How do we be good neighbors to them? Who are our neighbors? It's so biblical. Who is my neighbor? Rocco is our neighbor. We talk about neighbors, partnerships. Accessibility, even in terms of how to get up into the chancel. we're an aging parish. It's not everybody can get up there to sing or to read. That's an issue we have to think about. And then sometimes I said, the last time I did this was 8 years ago, but I'll let you all do this because we just did this not long ago. But in trying to figure out how to minister to who's in front of me, not just who's out there who doesn't know about us, but who do we have? Where are we now? So raise your hand if you wish we had incense every Sunday. If you can't raise your hands amongst yourselves, come on, okay. Raise your hand if you're glad that we don't have incense every Sunday. You see what we're up against. Okay, raise your hand if you like having incense some of the time, not all of the time. That is actually really helpful. Wow, we just landed on something. You'll remember before the pandemic, I used to chant the gospel on feast days and do all those things. And honestly, the reason we don't do as many figure eights all around swinging, is because it feels a little bit silly when 20 people are in the pews, and maybe that's just me. You'll see that sometimes I don't preach in the pulpit, so I guess I have to get a better mic. I've heard that. But sometimes it just doesn't feel like the right kind of day to be way up there in that place with just a smattering of people in the pews. And I'm not saying we need to grow numbers in the pews. There is good reason to not worry so much about that effort. Before I close with this, I want to be sure that I didn't miss any other vestry. Here's what we talk about, because you never imagine some of the things that come up. All right, so this is from Harris, Julia Harris, from the Executive Council in the House of Deputies. And she says that she warns us against accepting a scarcity mindset as the church and its 1.5 million members look to the future. I will tell you all that the numbers in our pews are average. We are right at average, a little bit more than what most Episcopal churches have right now. And I think we're slightly richer because of certain people right now. But she says that the church was being born. Well, she says today's landscape is comparable to that of Jesus' disciples in the first decades and centuries of the church. The church was being born, and it was discerning who it would be. It was discerning what our identities would be as followers of Jesus. And just as the disciples were commissioned in the early days of the church, we are commissioned now. We are called by Jesus into the crucial ministry of embodying love and action in our communities. The Episcopal Church is being called. Now, this will kind of blow your mind. This is not what we were hearing 3 years ago. The Episcopal Church is being called to let go of our scarcity mindset and embrace the abundant blessings that the Spirit has given us. And at the church-wide level, we sometimes talk too much about numbers of people in our pews, numbers financially, and not enough about the fruit of our ministries. So I close this report by saying the best I can tell right now in this period of transition where nobody really knows what to expect is the biggest fruit of our ministry is you, is this group of people. So please come, please stay, and please go through this journey with us. And now I hand it to finance.
It's the December 2023 monthly report. kind of boring. But it'd be nice to have you have it to go through.
Lauren, would you please hold it closer to your mouth?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's my once-a-year opportunity to show my face to you 11 o'clockers. Thank you for being here. We're going to split the finances we usually do. I will talk about where we were last year, where we ended up 2023, and Meg Love, Chair of Finance, will take you through where we hope to go in 2024. The handout that you just got, excuse me, is the December 2023 monthly report, which I present every month to the vestry. And since it's December, it's obviously the end of the year report also. If you look at the second column, the second column of numbers, you will see that we had anticipated a deficit of a little over $98,000. Well, thanks to increased income and a few less expenses, we actually cut that by 1/3 and ended up at just about $67,000. So we still had a deficit, but did much better than we had anticipated. Now, why did that happen? Well, first of all, income was up 25% over budgeted income. That translates to about $80,800. It's not small change. That was made up of $47,600 over in donations. Look down the column under income. Plate offering was up $5,600. Grants were up $11,000, and as Stephen mentioned, most of those are from the diocese. And then we have various, and that's why I wanted Ruth to mention Paul Casterline first. Various includes interest made on our investments. And thanks to Paul, we had an extra $19,000 in interest for 2023. So that definitely helped our top line. So overall, income was at 125% of what we had budgeted. Now, expenses were also up, but they were only up to 111%. One of the biggest expenses that was over budget was repairs. And as Nancy had mentioned, there were some unexpected property issues, floods, hot water heaters, new blowers for the heating system that needed to be attended, and some plumbing issues. So we went over about $17,000 on that. The other major overrun was down under diocesan loan, which is the second from the bottom. Back, I forgot the exact year, but when we started our capital campaign for the renovations of the building, we consolidated an existing loan from the diocese with a new loan for the capital campaign. At the end of 2022, we took the remainder of the capital campaign funds and paid off a large chunk of that diocesan loan. That gave us the opportunity to either reduce our monthly payments and extend the term of the loan, or continue the larger monthly payments and still finish up the loan this coming November. Vestry decided to go with that. So our operating expenses picked up double the monthly payments for the loan so that we could continue to look at a November 2024 payoff. So that added an additional $18,000 to our expenses. If it hadn't been for that, our deficit would actually have come in at only 46% rather than the 67%. So overall, I think we did pretty well from a year-end financial situation. Now, thank you, Paul, for making my life a lot easier this past year, not worrying so much about where the cash flow was coming from. We had always felt comfortable, finance and myself, in managing the money that we had in reserve, part of it in Fidelity and part of it with Canandaigua National Bank, being part of the overall diocesan program that they manage. $1 million kind of put us out of our league. So Vestry gave us authority to look for another financial manager. We decided on Ameriprise, working with Nanette Nacone, who I think some of you, a neighbor right across the street at Sagamore. So Paul's money, a total of about $1.3 million, is being managed by them. Our Amston Fund and Mary Lyle, Sweet Page's previous bequest, still being managed by Canandaigua National Bank, again, under the umbrella program of the diocese. So we'll keep an eye on both of them, see how they perform, and we can always switch back and forth. But we understand that we are fiduciaries for those who will come after us. So even though $1 million or $1.3 million sounds like a lot of money, we are not changing our attitude in how we look at income and expense. We still want to keep it under control as best we can. That is about it for a summary of 2023. If anyone has any questions or wants more detailed information, every time I give this presentation, I hold up the QuickBooks printout and people's eyes roll back into their heads. But if anybody's interested in those details, certainly welcome to that. One other issue, and Stephen has already talked about that. I think part of your packet contains a printout of the music accounts. Beginning in 2023, Stephen, myself, Kathy Brennan, we decided to get together and try to reconcile the various music accounts that have been floating around but really hadn't been attended to since about 2006. We finally decided on agreed upon balances for each of those accounts. And you will find them in your handout here: Friends of Music, SCOLA, Liturgical Music Initiative, money from the operations budget, diocesan grants, and then CD sales. And this is a summary of the 2023 income and expenses from those various music accounts. The total for all the accounts for Stephen is about a little under $37,000. So this way we're going to keep track of what the expenses and income are for the music accounts and make sure that Stephen has the resources that he needs to keep that program going. And again, any questions, feel free to ask or approach me after. Any questions? If not, I'll hand it over to Meg to break the news on where we're going in 2024.
So I did want to just say thank you to Norm, who's on finance as our treasurer, to Kathy Brennan, right there, and to Bill and Deb, who also serve on finance once a month. And then we also do some ad hoc meetings if we have particular requests that may have come in from Vestry that require a prompt response. And how finance operates in relationship to Vestry. Finance is often asked to make a recommendation or to consider an expense that may be coming in. So finance will review that. We make a recommendation. We don't make the decisions. The decisions are all on the part of Vestry. We work closely with Vestry in making those decisions or recommendations. And then one other point to our selection of Ameriprise to manage Paul's money. We did also meet with CNB and evaluate them as a potential investment manager. And based on our interactions with them and with Nanette, we thought that Ameriprise was the right way to go. So it wasn't a decision lightly. So in the packet that has a staple on it, there is a page that has 2023 budget, 2023 actual, and the proposed 24 budget. I will tell you I made a mistake. Happen often. I did copy the wrong set of data in for the actuals in 23. So I'll correct that, and the corrected report will go into the clerk's notes. But the points or the area that I want to talk about right now is on the 2024 proposed budget. I think the biggest thing that you'll see in the proposed budget in terms of income is what Norm touched on under the category of various. So that is where we're seeing where we are reflecting the interest that is coming from our investment. So that is interest. We're not drawing on capital if we don't have to. Those are all interest payments or interest draws that we're taking. And then Ruth mentioned Father's House has decided not to use the theater. Am I correct? They're not using the theater any longer. So they're using space in the lower level. So that's a decline in building use. The other decline in terms of income is around our congregational development grant that expires, correct, Deb? The developmental grant ends. That's why there's a decline in that line.
There are churches in severe need, and we were one of them. After we got the $1 million request, it didn't feel like we were as in need as other churches who are sit on the edge as we were. So we just did not, we declined to apply.
Apply again, right. Right. So if you're looking over that and you go, oh, what happened on that line item? That was that one. As we looked at expenses going into 24, we try to be realistic. We try to look at the assets that Christ Church has just as you would look at your own assets and consider those things accordingly. Ruth mentioned we did recommend to vestry an increase for staff, and we follow the diocesan guideline as it relates to that. So there were years that we weren't in a position where we could put that increase in, but this year we felt comfortable making that recommendation to vestry for a 4% increase for the staff. Large changes. We did, as Norm talked about, we have sort of realigned how we reflect music in the operating budget because you'll see up in income we're showing under special accounts we're now showing the music income, so we're showing the music expenses down in the expense line. I think that is the last of the, and then on the diocesan loan payment, as Norm noted, that will actually pay off in November of this year. A huge accomplishment. I don't know how long it's been that we haven't had a loan. 20 years. So that was a decision we recommended last year to make that, go ahead with the larger payments just to get it off our books. That's the last I had. It does reflect a deficit of almost $124,000, not insignificant. And I think when we talked about the incredible gift that Paul made to Christ Church, I think there were, all of a sudden you're like, oh, we could do this, or we could do that, or we could do this. If we look at the way the budget has been running, if we don't take care of that gift, take care of the parish, those funds could be gone, projected less than 10 years, if we just continue to spend as we were. And our Our thought was, we want those funds to last longer than any of us that knew Paul. So our parting comment, our committee-wide comment, is we like Paul.
And I just want to recognize, it's getting late into the afternoon, but I want to recognize that, it used to be that the property team was in the trenches and that they saw everything that was happening and worried about it, and we weren't really worried about it at vestry meetings. They would give a report and then they would go back and, I don't know, bite and eat their fingernails or something. So now we always have property reports and we talk about it because it's hard to be on that committee and see what's going on. And it's like that with the finance committee. You're in the trenches. And at our last vestry meeting, I asked one of the members, okay, apart from the report that you just gave us, the numbers report, is there anything you want us to, what do you all think about? What do you want us to know? And one of the finance committee members said just that, and this person's view was maybe it won't be 10 years, maybe it'll be 5 years, but just because we're the finance committee, we don't want to be the ones to make the decision or decide, okay, now here's what we should do. It's all of us figuring that out together. And not just the vestry, but all of you. There will be town hall meetings, and we'll all work through these things together. But can I just get another round of applause for the finance team?
Hi. So this has been an amazing year. And I really want you to look around the room at each other and recognize that you're doing amazing work. I have a little slideshow I'm going to show you in a minute of the amazing work that you've done. But part of what's going on now is that God has shaken up his church. And in doing so, a lot of things, we're sitting on the edge of a lot of change. And it all looks good. I have a stepmother. She wasn't an evil stepmother, but stepmothers are funny. You don't know how they're going to go, right? They come into your family. How are they going to go? I don't know. We're choosing a new bishop. The bishop we're choosing is a girl. The only choices we gave you are girls. We're shaking things up. It's going to be different. One of them, this last week, I hope all of you had a chance to go and watch at least one session. If you did not, they're online, and you can watch them. I want you to tell me who you love, because Dave and I are going to go and represent you as we decide who the next Bishop of Rochester is going to be. One of them this week said that the nave, same word as navy, is a boat. And if there was a flood and the boat turned over and rolled away, this building was gone. Would anyone miss it? And I can tell you here, people would miss it. This building, we have talked a lot about how much this building costs us. This building is really essential to our ministry. There may be churches, I don't know who they are, who don't need their buildings, and they'd be happy doing something else in a different place. This building has music all the time. It's used every day of the year. We have Tuesday Pike, and we have Stephen's work, and we have unbelievable worship on Sunday. It's to die for, right? And we have people who give and give and give and give to each other. We also have had, this past year, Ruth's sabbatical and Ruth's 25th anniversary of her ordination. We've celebrated each other. We've celebrated our friends who have died. We've had parties. We've had picnics. One of the other candidates said they didn't know where the church was going to be in 5 years, but they did know that Jesus was going to be there. They knew that Jesus was there now. And when we get there, we'll find him there already. So there are things that we don't need to worry about, and I'm really glad that people, not me, are worrying about them. People like you, and people like you, people like you. I am just so grateful to you. I am so grateful to serve you. I am so grateful to serve Ruth and the vestry, and we are really good at serving each other. So thank you very much for all you've done this year. On the website, speaking of the website, we have this really great website. If you don't check it out, you really should. And this is also on the website. I put it on this morning. If you go to the landing page and you scroll down, it'll say annual meeting. And you'll see this meeting on the website. And if you go over to, where is it? Parish Life Gallery on the website, you will see this slideshow. So, thank you, Christ Church. Thank you. One more thing, the music that you're hearing was played for the first time last week by Jimmy Jeffrey, and this is what we do.
don't say those last two words. I move that the parish of Christ Church pass that budget. Second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed. Go in peace.